Hello, everybody. It's been an entertaining night for me already. The dog got out and actually, thankfully, only got into the neighbor's yard. But before we found him, we went on a little bit of a goose chase. So the last 30 minutes or so have been a little hectic, but we're here. And I am continuing the tradition of having. This is a little too big to show on screen, and wow, the camera really does not like the thinks it's part of the background. This is my life-size replica of Stormbreaker that I got for Christmas one year, and it matches my hair. Right, is what I like to say. As last week we started off with the Needler, and I think as far as weapons go, this really is more of a fantasy weapon. But in all honesty, Avengers is like, really, can you really call Avengers like one or the other? What is it? What is it? Is it science fiction or is it fantasy? It's kind of like a blend of the two, I think, in my opinion. I'm not going to do much with this thing because it makes noise, and then once it starts making noise, it won't stop making noise. So we're just going to set that over there. Oh, but I hope everybody's having a good time. Really, I was very prepared mentally for the live stream, and then all of that happened, and it just kind of everything dissolved from there. And so my brain is in a million places right now, which is fine, I guess. It doesn't bother me too much. Jeez, man, the hair. Not used to being on a live stream with my hair down. You guys, you're lucky, I suppose. You get this version of me. But yeah, so today we're going to talk about my books again. Imagine that. And I want to talk today. I have some notes here, actually. I want to talk about whether or not Bat Bishop and Scions of Oth is the right book for you or the right story for you, based on a few things. I want to do a little bit of comparing to some other sci-fi franchises, which, don't worry, it's not like a delusions of grandeur sort of thing. Like, I know that my books are not, I know what they were inspired by, so I can tell you that, but I'm not going to sit here and say, oh yeah, it's like Star Trek. Oh yeah, it's just as great as Star Trek. No. The thing about stories, really, when it comes down to, I've read more good stories than I have seen on TV and film, and I think there's a certain, books have to have a certain it factor in order for Hollywood to take a look at them and consider them. In all honesty, I think oftentimes they get ignored. Look at Dune, for example. There's been a couple of attempts to make Dune work, and in all honesty, the Sci-Fi Channel's miniseries did okay. Like, it was fine. Again, they did the best they had at the time. Some of it, compared to now, pretty laughable. And then the movie, from the 70s or whatever, I personally haven't seen the whole thing, but I've seen snippets, and like they did the best attempt that they could. And now with these new movies coming out, I just rewatched rather, the first movie. I haven't seen the second one in theaters yet, and I'm excited to. But what I've noticed is that they're able to capture Frank Herbert's vision and his ideas better than they otherwise have in the past, I think. So, which I thought is interesting. It's like you have this technology now that can actually represent the very thing that that the author was trying to express, when in the past that wasn't possible, that wasn't doable, right? Just with the technology that there was at the time, or what have you. Pardon me, while I get my hair out of the way. Um, yeah, I think sci-fi benefits obviously from the technology, right? All the CGI and everything, but then just the commitment to create a movie on that scale and not try to modify it or filter it through any sort of Hollywood filter or anything like that, and just show it for what it is. I think Lord of the Rings, uh, kind of the same thing, although obviously much farther ahead of its time that came to Lord of the Rings much sooner than it came to Dune, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And in a way, I see Dune and Lord of the Rings as kind of equivalents, or really more, I see like Tolkien and Frank Herbert as kind of equivalents to one another personally. You can disagree with me. You leave a nasty comment, but obviously not equal in terms of their popularity. Lord of the Wings, Lord of the Wings. Oh dear, Lord of the Rings. You guys, yeah. Let me catch my breath. Let me catch my breath. Oh, nobody's gonna see this unless you rewatch this, so it'll be funny for you. Lord of the Rings is far more popular than Dune, but in terms of the worlds that Tolkien and Frank Herbert built and created, I think those are equal in their own right, fantasy and science fiction, comparatively. So, get this out of the way. Anyway, that was what I was trying to say with all that. It was just that there is an equivalent in Lord of the Rings for Dune. And now with Dune being turned into this big theatrical, thing, being actually, there's actually a commitment to making Dune the way it was intended to be made. I think we're maybe looking at something like the Lord of the Rings trilogy now in the modern era. And it's being taken seriously, which, granted, all of this coming from me who hasn't seen the second movie. So maybe I'm totally wrong. Maybe I'm going to see the movie, and then on the next live stream, I'm going to be like, oh, yeah, never mind. I was totally wrong. I don't know. Maybe they botched it. Hollywood these days. Hollywood got their heads so far up their ass. Sorry, I have to say it. It's true, because they're concerned with so many other things other than telling a good story. And so many other things. And it's not even the money. It's not even the money, because the money isn't driving the decision making as much, I don't think. And I'm not talking about like the, cinephile, films out there that are really intended for film lovers. I'm sure there are great films and great stories that are being told in cinema these days. You don't, as the average person, you don't really see it though, because there's only so much rises to the surface that you're able to see. And if let's take the most common example that most everybody is going to be familiar with, especially here on YouTube, and that is Marvel, right? And you have Marvel, pre Infinity War, and most everything was pretty well received. And now, since then, not so much. things have really changed, gone downhill, and there's lots of reason for. Excuse me, man. There's lots of reasons for that. I think why it's gone downhill, but I think the main thing is that they are losing sight of what makes characters compelling, and they are losing sight of what makes a story. Like, you look at Thor Ragnarok, that film was a good film. It's a very rewatchable film. Whether you like it or not, it hits a lot of good points. And honestly, as as a follow-up to the previous two installments, which weren't very well received, it was executed very well. Executed very well. Good storytelling, character development, a lot of good things to study in there if you're a storyteller in Thor Ragnarok. But then you look at Thor Love and Thunder, and there's a story there. There's a thread of it there, but it's lost in all this other stuff. And I think it was maybe a case of the director maybe like falling in love with his own idea. I don't know. I'm not throwing shade, you know. I actually was surprised when I saw Thor Love and Thunder that there were actually parts of it that I liked. I was going into it anticipating that I was going to dislike everything, and there were some gems in there that were hidden in there. But it lacked a lot of the same scale that Thor Ragnarok seemed to have. It's my opinion. And I can have an opinion on Thor because I have a beard and the hair, right? So I can have an opinion on that. And I have the axe. I showed you. I have the axe. I have an opinion. You have to listen to it. Maybe if I act crazy, everybody will like my videos. I don't think so. I actually don't think so. But yeah, Hollywood is in an interesting place right now. And so we'll see. I don't know what's going to become of Dune. I will watch the movie and I will report back. But I do find it interesting that Dune is actually getting the treatment that it's getting as compared to basically being ignored. It's essentially what has happened to Dune, and a lot of science fiction too. A lot of science fiction, honestly, has just been ignored by Hollywood for a long time. There have obviously been some great films that have come out, some great franchises in sci-fi. We're about to talk about some of those, but realistically, Hollywood has favored everything else other than sci-fi, and generally speaking. But the thing is, fans love it. Fans love it, and I think Hollywood is waking up to that in a similar way that they woke up to epic fantasy. I think, Game of Thrones. Say what you want about Game of Thrones, but that series on HBO really woke up a lot of TV studios and film studios to the idea of, oh, you know what? People actually like this stuff. Okay. I think sci-fi as well, to a degree, but sci-fi is maybe a little harder to execute sometimes. I don't know. Let's get into the meat and potatoes here, kids. We might as well. The stream might wind up getting cut a little short just because of the dog fiasco. So we don't want to waste too much time here. Oh yeah. My water bottle says Dad on it. Just in case anybody were to forget whose water bottle this is, because I'm a dad. So that's my water bottle. You'll never forget. You'll never forget. Scions of Oth is the name of my series. Don't forget it. Scions of Oth is a 9-book science fiction space opera series. There is a chess theme that runs through the whole thing, as you can clearly see. So there's lots of ships that are chess pieces here on this screen. Don't be intimidated by it. You don't need to know chess in order to read these books, right? You really don't. You'll be fine, right? And it is a space opera, so it follows a cast of characters, a broad universe, and follows the changes and the sort of sci-fi related drama, if you will, of that world and the events that happen and how things unfold. So there is a bit of military sci-fi in there as well. It kind of fits into that category to an extent. A lot of the characters are members of the military, members of the Space Corps. So they obviously there's some military jargon, although I would say as far as military sci-fi goes, it's a little softer on the military sci-fi. If you are a hardcore military sci-fi fan, you might find my verbiage to not be exact, and that's fine. I am not a member or former member of the armed forces. I have not served in the military, so I do not have firsthand experience. However, I do have a great respect for those who have served, and I think that respect, hopefully, that shines through. A lot of my stories deal with, for at least for those characters who are in the military, deal with the weight and responsibility of duty and serving in that capacity within the military, and the effect that has on you as a person, on your personal life, and so forth. First Board. That is exactly what this book is about. Right? And so the main character, Gerald Norham, he is the XO on this Bishop class battle cruiser, the Intrepid, and he gets thrust into leadership as the acting captain of the ship at a time of crisis. His marriage is also falling apart, and he has another tragic personal event that occurs during this story. This is actually a great introduction to his character and will give you some insight into him leading into Bad Bishop, which is the first book in the Scions of Oth series. So if you're interested to know, what is this series about? What are these characters about? This would be your first starting point. This book is free, so you can just grab it and download it. You do have to join my mailing list in order to get it, but if you don't want to be on my mailing list, you can unsubscribe. I won't keep you there. Not my problem. No big deal. But if you want to keep tabs, yeah, you can stay on there. You don't have to open my emails that often if you don't want to, right? Maybe just check in, see what's going on. I do have some releases that will be coming up in April and so forth. So some exciting stuff, some stuff I have yet to announce, but so you've heard it here first. But if you want to check it out, this is where I would start, is with this book, First Board. I have another free book, Bishop's Opening, which it's not a bad book by any means, but I think it's better enjoyed as sort of bonus content after you've read maybe books 1 or 1 through 3, something like that. I think it's better as bonus content for that. And so I'm kind of repurposing that for different uses, if you will. But First Board, again, focuses on the character of Gerald Norham. I did something fun with this one that I don't always do, where I kind of did a back and forth narrative a little bit, showing a flashback and then going back to the present, back and forth, as a way to help the story unfold. And I personally feel that it worked as a way of revealing Gerald's backstory and his character. So check it out. scionsofoth.com. You can go there and download it. I'll probably have links somewhere too in the description of whatever video you're watching if you want to go grab your free copy. So go check that out. Then, if you're diving into the main series, it is 9 books long. That is the first season of Scions of Oth, books 1 through 9. And season 2 is already in the works. And the first books in that, the first installments, will be starting to release next month. My plan. I don't know if I want to say it out loud. Excuse me, folks. I really do not like drinking on camera. It worries me. It bothers me. Like I'm worried that everybody's gonna be like, "Oh, he's drinking on camera. How disgusting! Oh, I can hear the sounds he's making. Oh, it's so revolting." You can tell that I grew up watching impressionist comedy. Jim Carrey, like Mr. Bean. Yeah. Oh man, guys, allergies. Okay, where was I? So, Scions of Oth, like I was saying, is a 9-book series. Those first 9 books make up what I call season 1. And season 2 is going to be releasing in 2024. There will be 9 books in season 2 as well. You could probably read season 2 without reading season 1, but I don't know why you'd want to. You'd want to probably read the whole darn thing. And in the end, it is going to be a 3-season long series. Yeah, you do the math. It's 27 episodes. 27 episodes, and they will probably want to have it wrapped up by the end of 2025, and then there's also going to be some spin-offs that'll be in the same universe. So there's a lot more to come. There's a lot more to come as far as Scions of Oth is concerned. But if you wanted to read through these, you would want to do them in order. You would want to start with Bad Bishop. There is a story that weaves through the whole thing. So the first trilogy here, these first 3 books, they have sort of an arc that they complete. And then there are storylines that go across the entire 9 books. Likewise, the second trilogy, there's kind of a thread going through these 3. There's things that start in book 4 that finish in book 6, but there are things that continue on and go until the end. Likewise, book 7 through 9, same sort of thing. There are some threads that go through those 3 books that then get wrapped up. So it is a trilogy of trilogies. Is one way to think of it. And then season 2 isn't so much it's not a reboot or anything like that, but there is a bit of a reset in that. There is a little bit of a gap of time, and there's some things that have changed since we have been gone, and we are now revisiting the situation, and we come back to it. So check it out. If you are curious, on Amazon, you can get the whole 9-book series for $24.91. Right, you can get the whole series if you wanted to. And I know if you do like the books, one thing I ask folks, if you do like the books, please leave an honest review. Honest reviews help authors so much. You have no idea how much an honest review helps an author. It really does. And here's the thing, right? You do not have to leave a 5-star review. I hope you do. I hope you enjoy it, but I fully understand you might not want to leave a 5-star review. I get it. It makes total sense to me. Doesn't bum me out. I'm fine, right? The thing is, though, I have a long series, and I release them not very smartly. I was very, very not smart with the way I released these. And in hindsight, I've realized that because what I did was I just dropped them all on the same day. And it was really fun. It was like exciting, like, oh, I'm publishing 9 books on one day on Amazon. Wow. I felt like an author. It was fun. I pushed that button 9 times on the same day. Very cathartic in that respect. The problem, though, was that there was no buildup for that. And as such, it's hard when you are trying to get reviews for a book, which is a big deal for people. Oftentimes, people will go look at a book, look at a series, and they'll look at the first thing they'll look at are the reviews. How many reviews does it have? Does it look like it's been, well received? That sort of thing. So, inevitably, right, it becomes a situation where now, unfortunately, most of my reviews are on book one, and then the rest of the books in the series don't have very many reviews. So, a little disappointing, but it is what it is. If you've enjoyed the books, you also keep in mind on Amazon, you don't actually have to write a review. You can just leave a rating, and that works just fine as well. So if you do grab any of the books, I'd appreciate it. If you read through the whole series, by the way, free on Kindle Unlimited. Did I mention that? Yeah, okay. Enough advertising. I think you get the idea. If you do read, right, and you enjoy it, please leave a review, an honest review. I'm not asking for anything more than that. I know some folks are going to read it and be like, this is crap. Well, then stop reading. You don't have to. You don't have to finish it. That's fine. That's fine. I think I hit my stride. Where does season 1 hit its stride? I don't know. I really like this book 3 into book 4. I feel like books 1 and 2 are going to be introducing a lot of things. There's going to be a lot of mysteries. You're not going to get all the answers in book 1 and book 2. This is a long series. I shouldn't talk too much of this because this is actually some of the stuff we're going to get into here in just a moment. Right? So let's ask the question, right? Bad Bishop. Is Bad Bishop the book for you? How do you know if this is the book for you? Or really just in general here, Scions of Oth. How do you know if this is the series for you? Right? So, firstly, the thing that comes to mind is what inspired this series in the first place. And that is Battlestar Galactica. Specifically, the reboot of Battlestar Galactica. For those of you who were fans of this show, so am I, right? I was a big fan of this reboot. I personally have not watched the original. No offense to anybody who was a big fan of that. I just did not watch it. I watched the reboot of Battlestar Galactica. And probably my favorite aspect of it was the focus on the military aspects of the show. Right, the characters. It was a gritty kind of version of Star Trek in a way, which Star Trek to me was always just so, clean. Star Trek was clean, right? And it was definitely more episodic. Right? Star Trek, every time you came back, it was like everything had restarted. You were back, right, to the same place you were. It didn't matter if you had seen the last episode of Star Trek or not. You came back and you were able to pick up where you left off, even if you missed an episode. Obviously, things like cliffhanger endings or multi-episode storylines aside, right? You'd be able to watch any random episode of Star Trek. Specifically for me, Star Trek The Next Generation is what I grew up on. And it wouldn't matter if you saw the last episode or not, right? It was a self-contained story, and it was very interesting, right? Battlestar Galactica, to me, was that same kind of premise, but in a much different direction. And obviously the gritty aspects of it, and really focusing on the individual characters, their flaws, their problems, their humanness is what did it for me. So it was a series that I loved. So we'll talk. We're not going to talk about the ending. It's too controversial. But needless to say, I loved the show. Every couple of years I rewatch the whole thing and binge it because it's great. And it was the primary thing that, in fact, inspired Bad Bishop and the whole series, Scions of Oth. I wrote the first portions of Bad Bishop actually about 10 years ago in 2014 as just a short story. Keep in mind, it has been heavily edited and changed since then, so it is nothing like what it used to be at that point in time. But if you liked Battlestar Galactica, you will probably like these books, right? Because again, direct inspiration. Right? I was also inspired by Star Trek: The Next Generation, Deep Space Nine. I grew up watching that stuff as a kid on TV. Right? My parents worked in the evenings. They owned a business that operated primarily in the evenings, and we'd get home and have dinner maybe a little later than some families would. And we'd sit down, and Star Trek would be on, and we would watch, not religiously, but I remember seeing it regularly enough that I knew all the characters and so forth. My parents watched it more than I did. I probably got sent to bed half the time, but I did get to see some snippets of it here and there, and I did enjoy it. So it was one of my other inspirations as well. If we're talking about TV and so forth. So if you enjoy Battlestar Galactica, that would be the first answer to that question. So is Bad Bishop right for you? Do you like Battlestar Galactica? Did you enjoy that? You might enjoy this. There you go. Right now, is Bad Bishop the book for you? Well, do you like a plot that unfolds over time and you don't get all the answers right away? That is Scions of Voth. You are going to have to read all the books. Oh no, right? The story unfolds from episode to episode. Like I mentioned before, it is a trilogy of trilogies. So there are story arcs that go from book 1 to book 3 and wrap up. But then there are storylines that continue on through the whole first 9 books in season 1. There is a story arc that goes from book 4 to book 6 and wraps itself up. And likewise, in 7 through 9, there are story arcs there, but there's then interweaving story arcs that go through that entire season. So if that's the kind of thing you like, a plot that unfolds over time, then this is for you. Right? If you prefer to get all of the answers up front, then maybe not. Fair enough. Fair enough. So, is Bad Bishop the book for you? Well, do you like flawed characters? Or do you have to have your heroes perfect, without any flaws at all? Right? Without any personality defects, vices, anything of that sort? Well, if that's the case, if your heroes need to be perfect, then you probably won't like these books. But if you're okay with characters, even heroes, that are human, have flaws, and are imperfect, and make mistakes, not just mistakes that, within the heat of the moment, something strategic, like that kind of mistake. No, I mean like personal flaws in their character. At times they may even be unlikable. Right? Then this is the series for you. Water break. If I don't do this, if I don't stop and take a drink of water, I'm not going to finish this live stream. So got to do what you got to do. Okay, where was I? So again, yes, the characters in these books sometimes will be unlikable. That's just a part of this series. However, if you like a redemption story, there is that in this story as well. These characters don't just stay flawed. It's kind of like Breaking Bad in reverse. I've mentioned this before, where the characters, especially the main character, has a lot of issues at the beginning and then has to work through those issues, and he actually becomes a better person. He becomes a better person through everything he goes through in season 1 in particular. So he has a lot of character growth. So he starts off as a character that, you might not like, and that's okay. He might do some things that you disagree with on a moral level, right? But he will grow and become a better person as the series progresses. He will face the consequences of his decisions. And so if that's the kind of thing you like in your characters, then yeah, you might want to read Bad Bishop and the Scions of Oth series, because that's in there. That's one of the key elements of Scions of Oth. Is Bad Bishop the right book for you? Is Scions of Oth for you? Well, do you like multiple characters with their own storylines? Again, kind of going back to what I said earlier, there are storylines that go throughout the entire series, the entire 9 books. And there are some that even aren't tied up yet and are going to continue on as this series progresses into season 2. If that's the kind of thing you like, if you like to stick with a core group of characters over a long period of time, then this is for you, because that's what's going on here. There's about 4 core main characters with a few additional characters that get thrown in. And sometimes those 4 characters are working very closely with each other. Sometimes they're far apart. Sometimes there are multiple different storylines, and then they eventually get tied in together. And things happen separately for a little bit, and then they get pulled in. If that's the kind of thing you like, right, then Scions of Oth might be for you. If you prefer to have your storylines all in one neat little line, and so you can keep track of everything, and there's not something weird going on over here and something weird going on over there, hey, totally fine. That's not exactly my style, right? My style is I have a few things going on with some different characters, and then I weave them together. So initially, it might seem like, character A over here is doing one thing and character B is over here doing something unrelated, but they're actually related to one another, and that gets revealed in time. Again, hence the sort of episodic nature of the series. Although maybe episodic isn't the best word, because it's not like each episode sort of resets everything. The plot does progress, but rather that plot carries on over time. So, is Bad Bishop right for you? Do you like variety in your sci-fi? That would be my question. Do you like variety in your science fiction? Because there's a little bit of variety here, and let me be frank. It is primarily space opera, right? And so space opera, that's a pretty loose term. There can be a lot that goes on with space opera. To be fair, there's some military science fiction elements, things like that. But there's also some alien invasion aspects going on, even some post-apocalyptic elements in this series. Some tech noir, cyberpunk style stuff going on in a little bit. Some science fiction adventure from time to time, and even some space marine style science fiction weaved in there too. So there's some variety. It's not always exactly the same thing all the time. There is this unfolding drama in space that makes it space opera, but there are some other themes and sci-fi genres that are definitely at play. So some other things that have influenced me over the years. Obviously, I've mentioned Battlestar Galactica and Star Trek already. Of course, you have Star Wars. Every millennial kid has been influenced by Star Wars, but Star Wars didn't really inspire this stuff so much. That's not really what inspired this. Dune is one of my other inspirations, although that doesn't exactly come out until maybe season 2 is much more heavily inspired by Dune than season 1. So much more of Dune there. But I'm also a gamer. Not so much these days. I don't get to play a lot of video games these days. But when I was younger, I played things like StarCraft, Halo, and all that really is Space Marines and spaceships, things like that. So that kind of stuff. As far as films go, Aliens, probably one of my favorite sci-fi films of all time. And there are some aspects of the xenomorphs that are maybe in a way the inspiration for the Grakon, who are the big bad aliens in the series, right? The big bad guys. Um, just a slight inspiration. More, I guess, they're sort of the xenomorphs and aliens have this sort of how do I want to say? It's part their nature is very aloof. They are they're not concerned with the same things that humans are. They are sort of immune to the concerns of the everyday world like we are. They just go on existing, and the aliens and they're also very indifferent to other life forms, whether they live or die. Obviously the aliens in Aliens, the xenomorphs, they eat people, so that's the thing. But the Grakon very much the same in that sense, although they are a bit more intelligent, I would say, in the way we would consider intelligence. But suffice to say, there's a lot of variety in here too, and you're going to get that especially with the different characters that are in the series. You'll see some different things going on with them. Is Bad Bishop the right book for you? Well, if you like lots of action and a fast-paced story, I think you will. I have been told that, in fact, this series is very action-packed and very fast-paced. And I think that is more my writing style. I like a plot that moves. I do not like a plot that sits still for very long. There are definitely some lulls here and there. There always will be in certain narratives. You do have to slow things down every now and then, but I like to keep the pace very fast and keep moving from beat to beat. So there is not a whole lot of unnecessary downtime, I would say. Unnecessary downtime. There is some downtime, right? But some unnecessary downtime in between all of the action. You will see the plot continue to progress and unfold, right? So if those are the types of things you like in your science fiction stories, check out Scions of Oth. There. That's all I have. That's all I have on that. I might revisit this, maybe flesh it out a little bit more, but I think that's the gist of it. I really think that's the gist of it. Again, the plot is going to unfold over the course of the whole series. You are not going to get all the answers in book one. In fact, you're going to have questions after book one. That's just how it has to be, my friend. I can't satisfy everything for you in book one. You're going to have to continue reading. You're going to have to find, would you like to know more? Right? Right? You have to continue reading to see the plot unfold, but it does unfold. I also don't want to. I don't like doing the J.J. Abrams thing and just having a mystery box that I set there in front of you and set all these expectations and then let you down later when there's nothing in the box. So I don't like to do that either. There is something in the box, and I don't know that I should reveal this fully. Let me take a drink of water while I think about it. I heard screaming upstairs. That's interesting. One moment, everybody. Stand by. Okay, now I'm back. False alarm. False alarm. Yeah, here I am. Okay. Oh goodness, sorry. No, I heard my wife upstairs, and I thought there was some emergency going on, but thankfully everything's all good apparently. Right. I was worried there for a second. Oh boy, thought I was gonna have to end the stream, but we'll hang out a little bit longer. I lost my train of thought though. That's the unfortunate thing. I totally lost my train of thought, and it was, what's funny? I can see the number of people watching, and when my camera was off, more people showed up. There were more people that must have seen the video and clicked on it and been like, "Ooh, what's this?" And then I started talking, and they left. Nobody wants to see this. Should I turn my camera off? Is that what it needs to be? Do we just need to do this? Maybe we do, and that's fine. I'm not hurt. I'm not. Let me change what I'm presenting. There, that looks a little nicer. Okay, I'm completely gone now. You can't see me anymore. Let's see if anybody shows up now. This is an experiment. Thank you for humoring me, folks. Okay. It really stinks that I totally lost my train of thought there. Jeez. Oh boy. Oh, that's right. I was talking about mystery boxes. So J.J. Abrams does that thing where he sets a mystery box in front of you and teases you with it, and then later on you find out that he had nothing planned at all, and nothing unfolds. There's no story that unfolds as a result of it. Okay, never mind. We'll go back to the way things were. There's no story that unfolds whatsoever. I think the Star Wars sequel trilogy, the Star Wars sequel trilogy is the best example of this. It's kind of a dud. He set the stage for something like, whoa, what's going on here with this Rey girl? Oh my gosh, oh, it's so crazy. And it was just kind of a weird, convoluted letdown. I don't think that's entirely his fault. I think Disney's obviously at fault for that there in a lot of ways. It is what it is. I know some people who like the sequel trilogy, and if I sit down and I pretend I'm not watching Star Wars, I'm okay with it. And it's fine. But that sort of thing. I don't like to do that where I set up a mystery box that has nothing in it. And so the series name is key. And the series, I know the series has kind of a weird name. Scions of Oth. The frick is an Oth. And a Scion? Isn't that like some car that people used to drive around that looked like a box all the time? Yeah. So Oth is the deity. Oth is God, basically, in the story. When people refer to Oth, they are referring to God. That is who they're referring to, right? And the religion in Scions of Oth, in the story, rather, is interesting in that it's not a pantheon, right? So in a pantheon, you have one religion with many cults. And so you have multiple gods, and each god tends to have their own cult, right? Meaning that you follow that god, you have these certain practices and rituals that you have. Well, Oth is one god, so it's a monotheistic religion. And yet there are multiple cults in the religion of Oth. This is the origin of the factions, actually, that are in the books, because there are 7 different cults, and each cult has their own practices, but has their own sort of moral guidelines set for them by the religion itself in their holy texts and so forth. And so it's just an aspect of their religion that, this group, these are your expectations. This is how you practice your religion. And this group, you don't have to follow any of that. This is what you have to do. And so each group has their own sort of goal that they're aiming for and their own ideals. Yet it is part of one religion. Right now, you can say, like, oh, that's totally impractical. That would never happen. Well, okay, fine. Whatever. But Oth is the... my wife is watching right now. And oh, that comment. No, that's not what it means. It does not mean that. But anyway, that is actually the mystery box. Is that the series title, Scions of Oth? What does it mean to be a scion? Well, a scion would be an inheritor, a descendant, if you will. And in the context of the book, that refers to humanity in this sense. But there's some twists and some new things you'll learn, especially in season 2. In season 2, some of that stuff is going to start to be revealed, and some other surprises will come along. So in the story, humanity has been divvied up into 7 different factions, and by their religion. And then you can imagine what happens when those 7 different factions kind of go their own way and how their societies and cultures form. Well, one of those factions was rebellious and was wiped off the face of the earth, or I guess the universe maybe is the better way to put it. So now there are only 6 remaining, and those 6 went on a pilgrimage to the area of space that they are in now. That happened about 10,000 years before the setting of this series. So that's like the backstory. That's like their ancient history, their legends, the things that, go back that far. And they're going to kind of get to the bottom of some of those things by the end of the whole series. And the secrets behind all of that will be revealed. So it's very much is unintentionally, but very much like how Song of Ice and Fire, that series by George R.R. Martin, which some of you have like never heard of. Like, he wrote a series called The Song of Ice and Fire. Yeah, it's called Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones is just the name that stuck, right? And everybody calls it Game of Thrones now. I don't know. Will everybody call my series Bad Bishop? Maybe. That probably would be a better name for a TV show. Again, no delusions of grandeur. But likewise, the title of that series, A Song of Ice and Fire, is what is at the heart of that whole story. If you don't know, I'm not going to spoil it for you, but if you know, you know. That is the meaning, or I guess not even that. It's about Jon Snow. There. Right. There. It's about Jon Snow. I said it. And so likewise, the title of my series has some deeper meaning to it that will be revealed in time. So it's not necessarily apparent right away. You won't be able to see it right away, but in time you will. In time you will. So I think we will wrap things up here for tonight. It's getting a little late. Like I said, had the fiasco with the dog getting out earlier. That was fun. But again, if you want to check out my books, I recommend checking out First Board. This is an introduction to the series. It's a free book. You can get it at scionsofoth.com. It's a short read. It's not super long. It's not intended to be really long, just to be an introduction to the main character, give you an idea what my writing style is like. And honestly, it's free. So check it out. If you don't like it, no big deal. Not the end of the world. But yeah, I would recommend going and checking that out. Alrighty. Well, folks, I'm going to sign off. Have a good one. Oh boy.